So let's move to, how about Tony?
Sounds good.
Tony in Plano, Texas. You're talking to Eric and V. How are you doing?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hi there.
Hello.
Hi there. My name's Tony. I just wanted to talk to you guys about an experience I had with a friend of mine a while back. So basically what happened is that he and I decided to do some psychedelics, namely
Cool.
acid. And so I had some previous experience with it, and so had he. But we ended up having very different experiences that night. And he was convinced basically that he saw something like on the other side. And he was very like, it was something that like shook him. It was very hard for him to like talk to me about it. And he's just convinced that like there's something else out there in one way or another. And so, obviously having done psychedelics myself, I can understand, like it literally feels real, obviously when you're on those substances, like things you see and experience around you, because of the way it changes your brain chemistry. So like my question is, how would I convince someone like, who has like a very subjective experience that they consider like realer than anything else, and yet, it, for very obvious reasons, it can't be real.
Sure. That is tough. In my experience, people who are super pro psychedelics don't want to listen. But we can give you the best we can. It's also the same reason why this is not Talk Vegan, because people get really entrenched. And I'm going to get a whole bunch of emails from vegans now. Tony, talk to them about what the effects of it are, ask them if they would trust somebody to, accurately make them food while they were tripping balls,
Right.
If they had so many different experiences, what was the same? What was different? Do those things clash? If they clash, why? And ask, there are other things that fuck with your brain chemistry that we don't think is valid. So getting drunk, right? If you were to get drunk, does that mean that, you start to get the spins, right?
No, obviously not.
Is the world spinning? Are you understanding that the world is spinning? Nobody else just sees it? No, you're just getting ready to pass out. In fact, our audio engineer, Vern, had an example that wasn't about being drunk. It was, take a baseball bat, put your head down and spin it around it a whole bunch of times. Did you make the entire world start spinning? No. But that is your perception. So how do you know? How do you tell the difference? Well, you're fucking with your brain. And when you're throwing yourself off like that, you should be extra skeptical about what your experiences were. More real than real. It's a funny statement, especially when you ask them, what does it mean? Because I'm yet to get a solid answer. It's just, the problem is your friend doesn't necessarily sound like they want to have an honest dialogue about it. And if they don't, you can't make them.
I think that they do. It's just that like it scares them in a way, because the way he was, acting during and afterwards, he felt like the few things that he was describing to me basically is that he felt like there were, like beings that were watching us and they were constantly listening to what we were saying and scrutinizing it. And so like he's like literally afraid to like talk about the experience, like it seemed traumatic for him. So I'm not sure like how to move forward exactly, except to like maybe like, I don't know, like suggest perhaps like a therapy or like even just talking about it like more openly or something like that. I'm not sure.
Maybe start by asking why these demons would not want to be talked about, because like, and I don't know, like part of my approach might be if going the scientific, this is your brain on drugs route doesn't work, then maybe try logicking him out of it, or at least into a place where he's more comfortable talking about it. So maybe for the sake of the conversation, grant him that maybe what he saw was real, and then try and make him see how it wasn't. I know that sometimes approaching them where they're at and then helping them come out of it from there, going in and leading them out as opposed to standing outside and saying, hey, come over here, helps sometimes. So,
and just, I want to dovetail in that. Trauma does not have to necessarily be tied to something that actually happened. When you experience trauma, the healing process, whether it actually happened or not, is still a long and painful one. The best example that I can give is gaslighting. In a relationship, somebody can say, you know, you're forgetful, you're stupid. Don't you remember you did all of these wrongs and all of these things wrong, and everybody, you know, doesn't like you. And you can get this view of yourself that's instilled in you by somebody. All of these negative opinions, and they, even if they weren't real, the pain and the trauma is still the same. So that story you tell you about you can be negatively affected, and in that way, yeah, it sounds like they're suffering from trauma. As much as you can be a helpful friend, definitely look at getting some professional help for them, you know, and you can absolutely affirm, hey, I don't believe that you actually saw this thing. I do believe that you're hurting. You know, reaching out in that empathetic way, that just exactly the way you said is, you know, we'll get to the higher level stuff right now, but let's take care of you first. That might help.
I think that was all very useful advice, so I appreciate it a lot. Would you guys happen to have any like resources or books or things on this topic that I might be able to share with him? Because he's the kind of guy who loves doing like his own like research and like actual research. So if I could recommend to him like a book on the subject, I'm sure that he would read it.
You know, actually, let's point you toward the Discord, because there are a shit ton of people who have a lot to share, and I think that you'd probably get a wealth of resources there that we would not be able to provide you off the top of our heads.
Okay.
But yeah, if you hop over to the Discord now, we're going to be going there in just a couple minutes. So we'll see you there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Yeah, and also just to say, I really, really love your show. I use this very much as like a coping mechanism when I was, coming out of my faith. So I just appreciate the work that you guys do in the ACA in general. So, keep at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, man.
Makes it all worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got the warm fuzzies. This has just been one of those episodes.
I love it.
But those people on the line, stay on the line because we still want to talk.